Have you ever stopped and thought about how much AI is already a part of your everyday life?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, everything from those personalized recommendations you get on Netflix to the chatbots that pop up when you're online shopping.
Mhm.
It's all powered by artificial intelligence, right?
It is.
And today, we're diving into a world where AI isn't just, suggesting movies. It's actually reshaping economies and impacting livelihoods, especially in developing nations.
Yeah, and it's all happening much faster than people realize.
Right.
We're talking about generative AI or Gen AI.
Okay.
It's this type of AI that can create new content, text, images, even code based on the data it's trained on.
So creating things, not just analyzing things.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole Gen AI thing.
Sure.
What makes it so different from other forms of AI, and why is it suddenly causing such a stir?
Well, imagine having a tool that can write reports, generate marketing copy, or even translate languages.
Uh-huh.
And it does it all with incredible accuracy.
Wow.
That's the power of Gen AI.
So way more than just, automating tasks.
Yeah, it's really about augmenting human capabilities in ways that we've never seen before.
So having a superpowered assistant.
Yeah, but one that can actually think creatively and solve complex problems.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
So this technology, is it spreading?
Oh, yeah. It's spreading rapidly across the globe.
Interesting.
There's this report by some Brookings Institution economists, and it highlights a fascinating trend. They found that over half of Gen AI web traffic is coming from middle-income countries.
So not just Silicon Valley.
No, not at all. It's going global in a big way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And this brings us to the heart of today's deep dive.
Okay.
We're exploring the impact of Gen AI on global inequality,
Yeah.
and we're using this Brookings Institution report to do it.
Okay.
It's titled, Artificial Intelligence is Transforming Middle-Class Jobs. Can it also help the poor?
Even the title, it makes you think
It's
it's almost like a race against time, right?
Yeah.
With this potential for AI to either bridge the gap or widen it even further.
Yeah, and the report really paints a very complex picture.
Yeah.
On the one hand, we're seeing this massive shift in the skills needed to thrive.
Like what kind of skills?
Well, in the U.S., for example, 39% of working-age people are already using Gen AI for their jobs.
Wow, that's a lot.
It-
I imagine that's creating a lot of pressure on people to adapt.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure to upskill, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the report even says that something like 66% of global business leaders won't even hire people without AI skills.
So you basically have to have AI literacy.
It's becoming a prerequisite in a
Yeah.
lot of sectors, yeah.
And what does that mean for people who don't have access to the resources or training to develop those skills?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the digital divide,
Right.
the gap between those who have access to technology and those who don't, and it's a major obstacle to equitable AI adoption.
So even if Gen AI has the potential to create opportunities,
Yeah.
those opportunities might not be accessible to everyone,
Right.
particularly in developing nations,
Especially in developing nations.
where access to technology and education can be limited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the report, it has some startling statistics.
Like what?
Well, in Latin America and the Caribbean, for example, only 14% of workers can even benefit from Gen AI.
Wow.
And most of those jobs, they're in urban areas,
Oh, wow.
held by people who make more money and are more educated, mostly middle-class workers.
It's almost like the rich get richer, but with a technological twist.
Right.
But are there specific ways that the middle class is benefiting that are closed off to lower income groups?
There are.
Okay.
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Access to these AI-powered tools and training, it often comes with a price tag.
Oh, right.
And even when they are free, you still need reliable internet.
Yep.
And you need a certain level of digital literacy to actually use them. And a lot of people in developing nations just don't have that.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
No, it's not.
It's about having the infrastructure and the education and the money.
Yeah, the means to leverage the technology effectively.
Right.
And that's where things get really concerning.
How so?
Well, in Brazil and Mexico, for example, the richest workers are at least twice as likely to have jobs that benefit from AI compared to the poorest workers.
Really?
And then when you factor in access to computers and the internet, the gap widens even further.
Wow.
So existing inequalities are being made worse by this uneven distribution.
Right.
For example, in Mexico, when you account for computer access, the richest are 5.6 times more likely to benefit from AI.
That's a huge gap.
It is. It's massive.
Wow.
17 million jobs in Latin America, and the Caribbean could benefit from Gen AI, but they don't even have the basic digital tools.
That's a missed
A
opportunity.
huge one.
For
Not
sure.
just for those individuals, but for the entire region, for its
Yeah.
economic development.
So we're kind of watching this new digital divide emerge,
We are.
one that could have like far-reaching consequences.
Definitely.
But isn't there another side to this whole thing?
What do you mean?
Well, if AI is augmenting certain jobs, doesn't that also mean that it's automating other jobs and potentially putting people out of work?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not just about the digital divide.
Yep.
It's about AI potentially disrupting existing job markets in ways that could disproportionately impact like vulnerable groups.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are worried about,
Mm-hmm.
AI taking over jobs.
Right.
So does this report say that we should be worried?
It definitely highlights the risk.
Okay.
We could see like 1.6% of jobs in Latin America and the Caribbean at high risk of just being replaced by Gen AI.
Wow.
And this is particularly concerning for certain sectors,
Like which one?
like banking, the public sector, customer support,
Oh.
places where a lot of women and young people work.
Right, so it's not just the digital divide then.
No, it's not.
It's also about the potential for AI to disrupt the job markets.
And in ways that could really impact vulnerable groups.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad news.
Oh, okay, good.
The report does point to areas where AI has the potential to be a force for good,
Okay, that's good.
especially when it comes to addressing some of the biggest challenges in developing nations.
So where could AI actually make a positive difference?
Well, think about education.
Okay.
Imagine personalized tutoring powered by AI,
Oh.
like tailored to each student's needs and learning style.
So everyone gets what they need.
Exactly. This could be revolutionary for kids in under-resourced schools.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Giving them access to education that was previously out of reach.
Right.
Are there any like real-world examples of that happening already?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There are already initiatives using AI-powered learning platforms in places like India and Kenya,
Oh, wow.
and the early results are really promising.
That's great.
Not only are students learning better, but it also frees up teachers to focus on more individual support.
It's a win-win.
Totally.
What about healthcare?
Healthcare is another big one.
Okay.
Huge potential there.
In what way?
Well, think about AI-assisted diagnoses,
Okay.
especially in those remote areas where access to doctors is limited.
Right.
AI could analyze medical images, flag potential issues, and even suggest treatment options.
Wow. So it's almost like bringing specialists to even the most remote parts of the world.
That's the idea.
That's pretty incredible.
And this is already happening.
Really?
Organizations are developing tools to detect diseases like tuberculosis and malaria,
Oh, wow.
which are major health concerns in a lot of developing countries.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, AI could be a game changer.
It really could.
But let's be realistic for a second.
Okay.
These are all, like, incredible possibilities. But what are some of the challenges to actually implementing these things on a larger scale?
You're right, it's not all smooth sailing. One of the biggest hurdles is something we talked about earlier,
What's that?
the digital divide.
Right?
The report reminds us that over 1 billion people don't even have reliable electricity.
Wow.
It's like the most basic thing.
It's hard to imagine implementing AI without that.
It's like trying to build a house without a foundation.
Right. Exactly.
And then on top of that,
Yeah.
there's the issue of internet access.
Of course.
Even when there's electricity, the cost of internet can just be way too much.
Yeah, for sure.
So addressing the digital divide, it's a huge undertaking.
It is.
It's not just about like handing out technology.
Right. It's about creating this whole ecosystem
It is.
to support access and affordability.
Yeah.
And, digital literacy.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another big element to think about.
Okay, what's that?
Education.
Right.
There's a huge gap in like foundational skills between wealthy and developing nations.
Oh, right.
You need a good foundation in things like reading and math and critical thinking if you want to thrive in this AI world.
So even if we bridge the digital divide,
Yeah,
we still need to invest in education
we do.
to make sure that people can actually use AI effectively.
Exactly. And it's not just about technical skills. It's
Mm.
also about, fostering critical thinking and creativity and problem solving. All those skills that will be essential as AI becomes more integrated.
It sounds like we need like a multi-pronged approach.
We do.
Investing in infrastructure, education, And encouraging a culture of lifelong learning
I think so.
to keep up with this evolving workplace.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this isn't just a problem for developing nations.
Right.
Even in developed countries, we're seeing this growing skills gap.
As AI disrupts everything.
Exactly.
So it's not just about bridging the gap between countries. It's about bridging the gap between now and the future.
Preparing everyone for this new world.
Where AI is everywhere.
Yeah, it's happening faster than we think. The Brookings report, it really emphasizes that, the time to act is now.
Yeah.
We can't just wait and see what happens. We need to be proactive about shaping the future of AI and making sure that its benefits are shared by everyone.
So where do we go from here? What can individuals and businesses and governments actually do to make sure that we're moving toward a more equitable future?
I mean, it kind of feels like we're at this crossroads. We have this amazing technology with all this potential, but also this risk that it could make things worse.
It's true.
So what do we do? Where do we even start?
Well, I think it all starts with awareness.
Okay.
Which is what we're doing right now.
Right.
Understanding how AI and global inequality are connected.
Okay.
That's the first step.
Right.
And then from there, we need action.
Okay, let's break that down.
Okay.
What can individuals do?
I think everyone should try to learn more about AI,
Right.
what it can do, what it can't do. So become more AI literate.
Exactly.
Are there resources out there for that?
Oh, yeah. Tons of stuff online, courses, articles, podcasts.
Cool. So what about businesses? What can they do?
Businesses have a huge role to play.
Okay.
They need to prioritize ethical AI development.
What does that mean?
Well, making sure that the algorithms they create and use are fair and unbiased.
Right.
That they don't just make existing inequalities worse.
But how do we make sure that happens? Is it just about hoping companies do the right thing?
I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I think we also need to create some rules, ethical frameworks and guidelines for how AI is developed and used, and then hold businesses accountable.
So regulations and oversight.
Exactly.
Okay, what about governments? What can they do?
Governments need to invest in education and infrastructure, especially in developing nations.
Right.
We need to expand access to quality education, particularly in STEM fields.
So people are prepared for these new AI jobs.
Right, and that means investing in digital infrastructure, too.
Right, making sure everyone has internet access.
Exactly, that's how we bridge the digital divide.
So everyone can benefit from AI.
Right, it's about creating an environment where everyone has the opportunity.
Not just a select few.
Right.
It sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is a huge undertaking, but it's one we can't ignore.
The report's pretty clear about that.
It is. The choices we make today will have a big impact on what happens with AI.
And how it affects global inequality.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the technology.
It's about how we use it.
Who benefits.
And how we make sure those benefits are shared.
So we all kind of have a part to play.
We do.
Well, folks, there you have it. Our deep dive into Gen AI and global inequality.
It's a complex issue.
It is, and things are changing so quickly.
They are.
But one thing is clear.
What's that?
The future of AI is not set in stone.
No, it's not.
We can shape it. We can make sure it's a future where technology brings us together.
Rather than dividing us.
Well said.
Thanks.
So remember, this conversation is just the beginning.
It is.
Stay informed, stay engaged,
Yeah.
and keep asking those tough questions.
Because the choices we make today will determine the world of tomorrow.
That's a great point.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.
And keep pushing for a future where AI benefits all of us.
Absolutely. See you next time.